Hey everybody, welcome back to my garden. Today I wanted to take you along as I plant this little Globosa blue spruce. This guy is gonna get eventually about 3 to 4 feet tall and 5 to 6 feet wide, so I'm planting it right in this pretty narrow flower bed. This is a new flower bed that we're just establishing in the front of the house. To my left I have a privet that I transplanted in an earlier video, and then to my right there's an arborvitae. I also have a limelight hydrangea that I'm going to put just behind the blue spruce, so I'm going to let it just kind of own the front of this bed. As you can imagine, if it gets 5 to 6 feet wide, it will come onto the grass a good amount. And when it does that, I will either cut the lawn out. I can also keep it pruned back a little bit to keep it within its space. They grow really slow though, so in all honesty, I'm not that concerned about it. If it really does love this spot and get too big, I can either transplant it and move it to a place where it can get bigger, or I can cut the flower bed out to allow more room for it. These guys are hardy from zones 2 to 8, so they're incredibly winter hardy. So if you live in a place with bad winters, this is definitely a really good option for you. They like full sun, and so I think here in the front of this flower bed, after about noon, it will get full hot sun. So I think it'll be really happy here. You can see I've already dug a pretty good sized hole. So now I'm gonna mix in a good amount of this Espoma Biotone starter fertilizer. I'm not gonna measure it or anything. I usually just throw a few handfuls in there and call it a day. And then I'm gonna take the plant. You can see this is balled and burlapped, and it's been sitting in the nursery since spring. It's early fall now, which is a great time to be planting, but it's grown, the roots have come through the burlap quite a bit already. So what I'm gonna do is get it down in the hole, and then it's really important to cut the twine. If not, it will strangle the base of the trunk, and just generally it'll make it harder for the roots to get out. So I'm just pulling the twine out. It's most important to get it cut away from the base of the trunk. If there's a little bit left around the roots, that's really not a big deal. So now that I've gotten all the twine pulled out, I'm just gonna pull this burlap back the best as I can. I'm not going to, normally I would remove it altogether, but because the roots have already grown through it so much and it's already starting to decompose, I'm not gonna worry about it. I might cut a little bit away from the top, this top section. But in all honesty, I could just leave the whole thing. Any part that I am leaving, I'm going to kind of fold back underneath the soil so that you can't see it once it's all said and done and planted. I have ripped some of the roots, and that's okay. I'm not overly concerned about it. Obviously, this plant has already had its roots cut a couple of times, and it's fine, so it's really not a big deal. Okay, so then the rest of this burlap I'm just gonna kind of fold back below the surface of the soil. And then all I'm gonna do from there is fill in with the native soil. I don't like to mix anything in, any sort of amendments, especially when I'm planting evergreens or trees, because eventually the roots of this plant are gonna go out into the native soil. And so I find that plants just generally do better if you mix in some good fertilizer, but not any amendments or anything like that. If you had really poor soil, it might be a good idea, but luckily here in Eastern Washington, we are lucky enough to have really fertile soil that's pretty loose. So there's really not any reason to mix anything in. And now I'm just making sure that I've really gotten the soil packed in well. You don't want to go too crazy packing it in, but it is important to make sure that the plant is well situated. Okay, and so now my last step will be to come back and water it well. This guy is already a little bit dry from being dug up out of the nursery and then moved home, so it will be very important to water it well and then keep it moist for the next couple weeks or so. But other than that, I'm expecting that this guy will do awesome in this area. So make sure that you subscribe down below so you can see how this guy fills in and the rest of this bed takes shape. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.